What's going on, my people? This is Rashad Taylor, and welcome to That's Dope. I've been approached for a long time about trying to do some type of podcast on my own. As most of you guys know, I've been working in radio for the past few years, and everybody keeps asking to do something. But really what I want to do is have an opportunity to talk to people in Portland that are doing some amazing things in business, within the community, in medicine and music, and all those dope things. So I'm honored to have my first guest be somebody that I actually, whether he knows it or not, I look up to him professionally, even personally. And it's my guy, Portland's own Trent Aldridge. What's going on, my guy?
Shadi, I appreciate you, man. I'm honored to be your first guest. That's crazy. So
absolutely, man. You should. That's not really crazy. We've had some pretty good conversations over the past few years, and I was like, man, we should get more of this from Trent. And I'll be honest, man. A lot of this quarantine has kind of forced me to do some stuff that I've been talking about doing for a long time, and finally, came around to it, man. So a lot of that is. Big up to you and the job that you and your staff at SEIU have been kind of doing to make sure that we kind of get messages out to kids and families virtually. It's easier than ever for me to get at people right now because everybody's available. So, man, I appreciate you for, for coming through for me, man, and stepping in.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to be here. This is my first podcast all the way around. What's crazy is my son is he's doing one with his one of his close friends, and they get together weekly, record it. They got it out on so I think people's access to other people and the ability to share your thoughts that's the new normal. You know what I mean? And so
absolutely,
I'm glad to be here.
It's real easy to get at people right now. Right now, more than ever. Because everybody's doing the same thing, whether you're rich or whether you're poor or in between, everybody is forced to be in the house right now. So this is kind of what people are doing. We were lucky enough to have Amine on our a senior graduation night the other night, which was crazy. It was crazy for the kids too, because they were not expecting to hear somebody like that during their commencement. So that was awesome. But again, it's just that ability to reach out and have people kind of reach back. So that's been the best thing of the quarantine, or one of the best things. For you, what's been some of the best things to come out of this whole quarantine?
I think in a professional sense for work, it's been the demonstration of people's skill and resiliency and the ability to pivot and change and grow and adapt, try new approaches to doing the things that we've done in person for so long. So I've always believed we had a special group at a special place. And then the fact that we are housing more people than we were in person, doing it virtually is an amazing thing. And I think every area of our organization has demonstrated that we are up to par in what we do. We're great at what we do, and we can do it in any delivery style. So that's been dope. And then from a personal standpoint, I'm just around my family. I had a kid off at college. She's back home doing school in her bedroom upstairs. We're able to spend time together. We watched some shows together. We've been playing a lot of Uno and Phase 10. And so I've been able to beat up on my kids in that way. And it's just been dope in terms of the ability to connect. And so the family video chats and so it's even in a unique time, it's still ways for us to connect. And so that's what I've really enjoyed.
So you mentioned your daughter being home from school, which I know it's kind of bittersweet, because on the one hand, you're obviously glad that she's home, but on the other hand, we all know everything got shut down due to COVID. But just talk about how different it's been just now having her back, because she's been gone for a few months now.
Yeah. It was tough, I think, a transition for her, because everyone talks about how spring at Oregon as the school and what the campus looks like and the vibe and your first spring in college, and she lost that. And so just like our seniors who graduated the other night, we had to let them know that you're still special. You still have something to reflect on in a special way because of this unique scenario. I think she'll face the same thing. And so, you know, she missed the dorm life and the school life in the springtime, but she's still directly connected to school. And then, you know, she's around her little sister. So her little sister is getting gamed up. They was working on Spanish. They both were taking Spanish, college Spanish, high school Spanish. And so they've been able to connect in that way and other ways as well. A lot of TikTok in the house, a lot of dancing going on. And so
you got a TikTok? You on any of those dances?
Nah, man. Nah, they've tried to include me, and I'm standing in the back being the grumpy old uncle, man.
Yeah, I'll record. I got you. I'll hold the camera. No problem. But I think once you reach like a little over 30-something, you shouldn't be doing TikTok dances no more. That's just me personally, but I mean, I digress, man.
And so honestly, man, I never wanted to be the dude who's like, how did this work? What do you do? So I want to always stay connected to things. Like, I think that's how you kind of stay young, and staying connected to the things that young people do. And so, like, I got a TikTok account so I could see what it's all about. And like, they were telling me, like, TikTok is a big inside joke for everyone that does TikTok. Like, when you do something or say something, it's something that we all just saw on this platform. And so, like, if you don't have the platform, you aren't in on the inside joke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how you know you're an old dude, right? That's how you know that you're out of the loop. Like, stop playing that music too loud, right? I'm never gonna be that dude. And so I get it, and I swipe up and swipe through, and it's like, okay, it's a lot of dancing. It's not my thing, but I wanted to be in on the inside joke. And so
absolutely. There's nothing worse than not being in on the joke.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing worse. And so, like, all of the stuff with family and being and having her around is dope. So I'm not mad at the experience in that way, for sure.
So you're somebody that's been working in this community in Portland for, maybe a little over 20 years, right around there. Is that fair? I don't want to date you too much, but yeah.
No. May I started working at SEI in May 2000. Today's May 1st.
Today's May 1st.
First day of work.
Wow.
Was
20 years.
May 15th or May 20th or something. Like, I started work on a Monday. That Wednesday we had the senior banquet. Like, the very first week of my employment at SEI was the senior banquet. My third week at the company, we took an end of the year trip to LA or something. It has been a whirlwind. So, like, I blinked and 20 years has gone by. So, and then I worked at the Urban League before I came here. I worked at they had an alternative school at the Urban League 20 plus years ago. And I was a computer teacher. They let anybody teach something there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it looks like it worked out for you, because you're arguably the techiest person that I know. That's
hey,
sure.
Man, like, I'm a self-embraced nerd, right? But there are much smarter people. I just I enjoy it. Like, my wife is always saying, like, you missed you were supposed to be an engineer, or you were supposed to be that. And I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing, and I just have a cool little thing that I like on the side. You know what I mean?
Nice little side piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. So as you were kind of coming up, and as you were, really learning the ropes through the nonprofit world and everything, who were some of your more professional influences for you?
Man, that's a tremendous question. Like, when I graduated from college, and the first thing you do is you're trying to get paid. I went and worked at places trying to get paid, and I just didn't find fulfillment in it. And so the first person that really gave me an opportunity, and I was still in college at the time, and I looked up to, and him and my mom had a great relationship. His name is Paul Coakley, and he was a principal in Portland Public Schools.
Shout out to Mr. Coakley, absolutely.
Yeah, for years. And so he was the principal at Harriet Tubman when it was a middle school, and my mom was a teacher there. And he was such a dope dude, black dude leading the school. He had this like big Joe Clark kind of personality. I saw him grab a kid by the belt loop in the back, like, you know, to keep him from fighting. And he was just always really a dope dude. And then his sons are a superintendent of a school district and I think a brain surgeon.
Doctor,
like,
yes. Brian Coakley, friend of mine.
yes. So like he created not only a great legacy in his community, but he also raised two tremendous human beings. Like we just got into, when I say we, as SEI, just got into the Centennial School District. And I see PJ and it's like, man, you run the entire thing, man. PJ was a summer teacher at SEI 18 years ago. You know what I mean? Teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, now school superintendent. And I'm like, that's legacy, that's history. And so early on, it was Mr. Coakley. And then, you know, when I finally got to SEI, just like pretty much everybody, is Mr. Hobson. He's been kind of the gold standard for me. A lot of leadership lessons from afar, a lot of game that I've absorbed just over time. And then most recently in the last few years, I've got to sit at some of the tables he sits at. And so every time and every day is a nugget, and you have to appreciate those kind of unique individuals. Like, you know, he's wanted to do service to his community since he was 14, man. Like the just kind of early on wanted to be of service. Him and his partners got together and created something super dope, and then he built it into something that is profoundly impactful in such a small community, you know?
Do you think?
And so, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir. Please go ahead and finish, please.
No, I was just gonna say, so like that's transcended type skill, ability, mindset, thoughtfulness. And so like when you're around something like that, you build it up. Like I spent my life doing this work, and this was his dream, you know? What
does Portland look like without SEI to you?
I know that Jefferson High School would have been closed. I know that there wouldn't have been a black school in the state anymore. I know that the district, probably Portland Public Schools, probably could have gotten away with an achievement gap that it just kept growing versus going the opposite way. I know that people's lights is on. I know that people get mental and social and emotional help. I know that kids have been given their first jobs. I know that basketball camps that weren't charging you hundreds and hundreds of dollars and didn't provide you anything has existed for 40 years because someone cared about that. I know that as a Black community, a lot of folks may have a great experience or a not so great experience, but it's been someone advocating for the underserved. And there's just a voice that says that, no, that ain't cool, no, that ain't cool. And so I think it would be hard to speculate what it would look like, but all of that stuff has happened in service of others. And it's been hundreds and hundreds of people that came in and did their part to be in service of others. And so
so you mentioned those changes, or not changes, but the SEI's presence in Portland and everything like that. What about those changes within Portland? Like we've talked about SEI and kind of all those things, but right around our own little city doesn't really look the way that either one of us grew up, you know. So what's the biggest and I guess most significant change for you to happen in this city over the past like 20 years or so?
I think we all can connect it back to gentrification. Like the neighborhoods that we grew up in or were a part of don't look the same. I mean, you could drive down William Street, you could drive down Vancouver, all that stuff that's built up. It's the bike lanes, it's the areas and stores that we used to be ones we go to, like when I worked at the Urban League, Chuck's was just around the fence for the most part, and it was always booming. You can get yourself a sandwich or a hot link or some chips and a drink, and then I go in there. It's been a while, but it's a ghost town in there, man. And like you can go in there and get you some meat or whatever. And I think those things kind of embodied it because, you know, my mom worked at Tubman. Chuck's was right around the corner.
Yeah.
And every middle schooler that went through that school went through Chuck's at some point. And I think the scope of the neighborhood has changed and how people stay connected to it. And so you could be a kid going to Boise or Boyce, depending on what generation you're from, and you lived in the neighborhood and went to that school, but the community is still trying to keep their kids connected, so they live a ways away and drive to get their kid to Boyce, and so that they could stay connected to brown kids. And so you could say all of that. I'd say the demographics of the people that go to the schools that we serve has changed a ton. I think the economic opportunity for people, especially people of color, has changed because it's so much more expensive just to live in Portland. Like I think like I had the bad habit when we were working person to person. It's been a minute now, but I wouldn't bring lunch to work. Like I would go out to eat, you know. And my early life at SEIU, you could get a pretty good lunch for the $6, you know.
Absolutely. Right to
You
Craigos,
get a
man. What you
lunch
mean?
for the $6.
Yeah.
You can't get anything for the $6 now. Like there is no lunches to be had for the 6-piece. So like I think about just that kind of experience too. Like it's just more expensive. And then like I went to Whitaker, and it was on 42nd and Killingsworth. And right outside of our school was Mr. Burger.
Mr. Burger.
Mr. Burger, you got the burger, you had the crinkle cut fries, and man, I would save my little chips so that I can have fries after school every day. And then I just walked to the crib. And it was me hustling for the little dollar that those fries cost, right? So what are the kids hustling for now? And how much is that? You know what I'm saying? If you really wanted a burger or fries now, and I'm a middle schooler, what am I hustling to get for? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
no, because them joints aren't cheap. Them joints are cheap. Is there anywhere that you absolutely miss that's no longer in Portland? Like for me, it was like when I was a kid, it was go to SEI basketball camp, right? That was right there at the center. And for a while, Craigos was still open. So walk right over there, get some JoJo's, get some other stuff, and head right back to the center, man. Is there anywhere that you're like, man, I could use a Cleo's burger right now?
Man, you know, I don't know. That's a great question. I'd have to think about it. I did have some Crago JoJo's. That's for absolute sure. You know, like what's crazy is that if things isn't necessarily like to eat or whatever, but right out of high school, I worked at One Stop Records, and it was on 16th and Killingsworth, right across the street from the store, right? And I worked the afternoon. I worked from like 3 to 8 or something, and I was doing that and going to school. And it was some of the coolest experiences of my life was being right in the middle of the neighborhood, and it would be something going on. It'd be people coming out of Earl's barbershop, or it'd be people coming across the store, across the street, getting a barbecue burrito or
some tamales.
Man, yes. It was always something going on. And then people were buying actual CDs and cassette tapes back then. And so I had Cliff Robinson, and just it was always some connectiveness to my community by working there, and things like that don't exist anymore. You know what I mean?
No, they're few and far between. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I miss that, like a place that you could go and know that you were connecting. Like the barbershop, I went to that barbershop all through elementary and middle. And then, you know, I had a high school partner that was getting my high top fade together all through high school. But there was some connection to being at the barbershop, and then the record store next door, and the spot everyone went to get their 40s across the street. And so I don't know of, and I'm older now, but I don't know of a place like that anymore.
I don't think they exist in this town anymore. It's funny, that store that you talk about across the street from the record store, that's where we used to sell fireworks. We had a little fireworks stand that went literally every year before the 4th of July. Me and my godfather and a lot of my godbrothers would be selling fireworks, man, right out of a little, you know, little fireworks shop, man.
Yeah.
See, I know you're a huge music buff. You mentioned, you know, working at the CD and record store and everything. Have you been following any of these Instagram battles between any of the people?
Man, so I dropped in on the premiere. I listened to some of the Swiss and Timbo. I didn't really get in on the T-Pain Lil Jon.
That was the most fun one.
I was totally ready for the Teddy Riley and Babyface, because I was a young adult when that music was happening. You know what I mean? Like all of Teddy Riley's music, I was leaning towards that side. You know what I'm saying? Like New Jack Swing was my Drake. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
That was my turn or time. And so the first night, and it didn't work out, I was disappointed. I was like, man, Teddy did a little too much.
Yeah, and Teddy Riley. Okay, so you're obviously a really tech savvy dude. How did you feel about Teddy Riley's all of his technical difficulties during the first and the second one?
So the thing that I would say is he was just trying to give people a good show, right? As annoying as old boy would have been in the background getting his dance on or whatever, he was just trying to give a good show, man. And that's what he was a showman, right? Babyface was following doctor's orders. He just got over COVID. You know what I'm saying? He needed to be alone.
And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, I honestly think Teddy Riley made more fun music. I think Babyface made, he made all the ballads and made all the stuff for all the singers and stuff like that. But when you think of just pure fun and dancing and everything, I don't know if there was a producer in the 80s better than Teddy Riley.
This is what I would say. This is the thought that I was having at the house, because me and the wife was paying attention. So the first time was technical feedback, mics, and he had too much going on. He didn't understand Instagram, I think, and how that works. The second time, I think they literally just had so much traffic that Instagram didn't know what they had on their hands.
Which was crazy, yeah, which was nuts.
But I would say it wasn't the right matchup. Like I was telling the wifey that maybe Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis was a better matchup for Babyface, because both of them had R&B, both of them had pop music, more ballads. I think they would have been a better matchup. Yeah. I don't know who would have been the better matchup for Teddy Riley. Like, he did hip hop, he did R&B. There were tons of remixes. Like, who was his contemporary? And I think it would have been a better battle, because he played a couple slow songs. Like, Teddy, you shouldn't be playing those, bro. There's a couple songs that
those are just flexes, though. Those are just flexes, just to show that, yeah, I wrote this for Keith Sweat too, and I wrote this. That was at that point.
But Babyface, that's his lane. That's why I felt like it wasn't the perfect matchup. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, they may have been a little too old too,
but against Babyface and L.A. Reid, that would have been a great,
that made more sense to me
the whole time, and just was in the background and didn't do anything, But yeah, we've kind of forget about him as a music producer. You mentioned your beautiful wife, man. You guys have been together for a long time. In a lot of people's eyes, especially here in Portland, you're kind of like relationship goals, man. What does it take to make something last for, man, it's a little, how long? Like over 20 years?
So we got married in 98. So this year will be 22. and I've known her since I was 20. So we've known each other for 28 years. And so I laugh at the whole goals thing, and I'm appreciative of it. But both Andreen and I are quick to say that it's work. You know what I mean? It's hard work. I mean, two different human beings cohabitating for a really long time. If you have any type of roommate, you know that's work. You know, and then we come from different cultures as well, like completely different cultures. My wife was an immigrant. She came here, got a green card, went through that process, became an American citizen. So there's a barrier there too, where you're not originally from this country, and you had that whole battle. She had a whole different battle about absorbing this country. And so like it's a lot of work just trying to make sure things work, you know what I mean? And you're mindful of the person. But I think the root for me, I can always get back to is I'm from a single parent. My mom's raised me. I've seen her life through relationships, and lots of really great ones. And what ultimately I learned or gathered from all of that is like, I'm gonna treat any female I'm around like I'd want someone to treat my mama, you know? And one of the things in that is like the cultural differences. I didn't know how to traditionally court a woman. Like, you know, you're not just marrying the lady, you're marrying her family.
Family, absolutely.
And you know, it was just me and my moms. I didn't know how to do that stuff. You know what I mean? So like, there's always a learning curve there, and there has to be some kind of decision as to how you're going to do this work, right? Because it is work when you think about it. And so mine had always been based in, you know, I'm going to treat the people and the women that I come across like I'd want someone to treat my mama. And I think that's been the baseline for my approach to not just my wife, but my daughters, the women that I work with, the people I've been coordinator or supervisor for. Like, am I behaving like I want a male to treat my mama? And ultimately, that's helped been the guiding force, kind of.
You hear that, ladies? This is how, if your dude is not saying this stuff, then it's time to move forward, you know? So your wife was a blazer dancer. That's right? Was that before you guys got together?
So what's crazy is our story has got lots of ups and downs, mostly ups though. And she was a cheerleader. She had done dance. She's a black belt in karate. She is a nuanced woman. And so we were friends before it became a relationship. And she had been saying that she wanted to do that. She wanted to try out, right? And mind you, this is the Blazers, not before the Jail Blazers. This is Clyde,
the good teams.
Terry Porter, Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth. She saw all of this, right? Like, and so she was like, they were something special in this community, still are, but that group was special. She's like, I think I want to do this. I'm like, you absolutely should. You know, you throw your hat out there. And then she went back to the Philippines, like disappeared for 4 months. And then by the time I saw her again, because we met at Portland State, she had made the squad. I was like, yo, that's super dope. And made the squad and gave me a ticket to come see some of the games. And then she was a Blazer dancer for 6 years. You have to try out every year. But by the time she finished, we were together, and the team wasn't as good anymore. I was kind of.
They went through a lull for a while.
Yeah. So I was like, well, baby, I'll come pick you up after the game is over, because the games and the teams wasn't as good, you know. But she experienced a lot of super dope things. I think there was one year they went to Japan or something. She got to go. It was a very cool time and experience for her for sure.
That's awesome, man. I've noticed the lightsabers in the background. So it's obvious, and you mentioned it earlier, man. You're a nerd. It's cool because I'm a nerd too. And the one thing, like, I think when you say the word nerd, it's instantly the first thing you think of Urkel. You know, like that's what a nerd is. But in 2020, man, Urkel's popping. The way he dresses, everything. It's just one of them things, man. But
Yeah.
what? So I'm a big wrestling nerd. Not so much anymore, but I can talk about wrestling, literally all day, man. What's your nerd vice of choice? Is it Star Wars? Are you more of a comic book guy? Which one, if you had to choose between the two, which one do you nerd out more for?
I guess for me, I've done a little bit of all of that, and it's been connected to something. So Star Wars, of course, comic books, of course. I WWF at the time, right? My mom took me to see Hulk Hogan and Coco Beware at the Memorial Coliseum when I was younger, right? Like,
I think I might have been at that same show.
I've had connections to all of this stuff that is unique, and then for me, the Star Wars I was in '77. I was a 6-year-old, and I remember those experiences. I remember those movies. It was like, man, what, a laser sword? That's crazy. And then in the '90s, they did the Star Wars prequels, and my son was a kid, right? So we bonded over it. Like, I'm taking him to these movies. I'm buying him the little plastic lightsaber.
And it's a whole new story and a whole new, group of characters for him to enjoy too.
And then I can take him back to the older movies and show him that. And so that he and I had something that was some commonality to it. And the same with wrestling. Like, he watched the wrestling on TV, and I would tell him about the older stuff. And so it was a way for me to stay connected to my baby boy. And the Star Wars stuff is still things we talk about, right? Like The Mandalorian, great content, great TV.
I was gonna ask how you felt about it, because I liked it a whole lot.
Baby. Yeah, and then he and I, he's a grown man now, right? He's 27 now. And he and I are having like conversations about it on some just kind of sophisticated nerd stuff, right? And so I think there's this common thread about certain things that I liked as a kid, my kid liked as a kid, and we can continue to travel along. So then I discovered this, man, 3 or 4 years ago, where these guys, these machinists, like real steel, real electronics, they love Star Wars, and they started creating these lightsabers, right? And it's steel and electronics, and these dudes are out here battling. And I was like,
I saw that, like, there's real competitions. Where do you enter that competition? Like, where do you go to sign up to be in this competition?
I don't know, but there are communities everywhere that are doing it now. Now, I'm not going that far, but I'm like, you brought my childhood to life. I got to have one. And so,
would you go watch one of those?
I'll probably go check out the nerdness. You know what I'm saying?
I think it'd be dope. I mean,
they putting on masks and they got their saber and fighting and all that.
They're flipping in the whole nine. Like, I saw a few clips. It's like, man, these dudes are really, and in some cases, they're the ones that they pick to do battle scenes for movies and stuff like that. So, man, you're looking for a way to be in Star Wars motion pictures, man. That might be.
It's never been easier. You know what's crazy? The one in the middle here, the manufacturer is called Saber Forge, and it's manufactured and created right in Oregon City, Oregon. Like, they have a showroom floor. I just Googled when I first saw a video of it, and then it went down this rabbit hole. Come to find out, they make them right in our own backyard.
It's 4 blocks away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been to the showroom and you've seen all the sabers and whatnot.
Absolutely. Like I went with my son because he grew up with it too. This is his childhood. He wanted one. And so he's like, Pops, go with me so I can figure out what I want to get. You know what I'm saying? And really it's just that. I'm not in the backyard saber fighting, but it's a nice
There's
little
a future in
showpiece.
it if you want to. There's a future if you really want to. I've always been a dark side fan. I think their lightsabers are just better, from Darth Vader's to Darth Maul's, and then Kylo Ren's with that weird sound that it makes. Like,
Yeah.
just cooler, man. Well, man, Trent, I don't want to hold you, man. I appreciate you for checking in with me, bro. What do you got going right now, man? Because you are indeed dope. That's why I had you on. That's dope. So what dope do you have happening right now in your life, bro?
Man, not a lot. Beyond what's just kind of normal and traditional, man. My family is dope. You know what I mean? My kids are dope. They're doing amazing stuff, all self-motivated and self-driven. You know, like my family is in healthy, and I have great people around me. My village is super dope. I got some people that I've been rocking with tough for a while now, and they're very important people. Like just on the drive up, like we're at the crib and my partner just roll up and his whole family's in the car with a dozen Krispy Kremes, just to show some love to the homie. And so I got a dope village. I got a place that I do work every day that I believe in, that I know is impactful. So that stuff is dope. And I'm doing something that's meaningful, and people appreciate it. They show me the appreciation you have, and that's dope. And I think the only thing that I would say that is kind of beyond just the normal traditional, like I've been working on my old school and trying to get it right, and that's kind of dope.
That's a beautiful vehicle too.
So I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. Well, Trent, again, I appreciate you for coming on with us, man. Hopefully you wouldn't mind coming on again sometime.
Absolutely. And
all right, my dude.
My name is Trent Aldridge, and this is dope.
My man. Thank you, Trent. And for everybody watching, make sure you like us on Facebook. Make sure you like us on Instagram. I'm Rashad Taylor. That's dope.